Hey everyone, my name is Jamin. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. In this video, I have a Samsung Galaxy Book Flex. I'm going to take you on a teardown or disassembly tour, show you how to open the computer and all the various components you can access once you're inside. So first thing, power down your computer the correct way. Make sure it's off and unplugged from your charger. We're then going to flip it over to access our bottom case screws. Now, as you see on the bottom of your computer, there's a rubber foot in each of the four corners that's held down by either double-sided tape or very light glue. So if you have a small flat pry tool, maybe like a small screwdriver, you can get it under there and pop those up fairly easily. Just be aware they are rubber, so if you're not getting under there enough, or if you're popping it up too hard or too unevenly, you can damage them. After you get the rubber feet off, they will each reveal a screw underneath. Once you take that screw off, you'll take a small flat pry tool and you're going to go around the seam of the bottom case and pry it off from your computer. Now, if you watch my videos, you'll know that for metal computers, I generally recommend a plastic pry tool because they scratch your case less. However, with this bottom case, even though it's metal, I had a hard time getting this bottom case off. It's really stuck on there, really snapped on there very well. So I had to end up using a metal pry tool, even though that wasn't my first option. So if you do go that route, just be very careful not to damage your bottom case. And also be aware there are only 4 screws holding this down. It may be very difficult to pop that up, but that's just this computer, unfortunately. After you get your bottom case off, this is what you're looking at for the inside of your computer. Now, as a general repair side note, whenever I'm operating on a computer in my shop, it's sitting on an anti-static mat. Either that or an anti-static bracelet are great ideas to avoid damaging anything in your computer when you're working on it. If you need any help with any tools or supplies for your computer project, as well as any of these replacement or upgrade parts for this specific model computer, there'll be a link above, also below in the description, and it will give you a list of all those tools, supplies, and replacement parts for this computer. Now, before I do anything in a computer, I make sure that the battery is either removed or at least unplugged. It's safer to work on a computer when as little power as possible is running through it. So in this computer, you can either unplug it first and just leave the battery in, or you can take the whole battery out. I'll show you how to do both now. It's held down by 4 screws, 1 on each side, the left and the right, and then 2 on the bottom near the left and right corners. Once you take those screws up, it plugs into the motherboard right here. Now that's a snap plug. That's not an insert plug. This just snaps directly up and off of that port. Be aware these wires are fragile. All wires in a laptop are fragile. So whenever you're working on a plug, try to avoid pulling or jerking on these wires. Just manipulate the plug itself. Also, as you can see, this white wire is held down to the battery by these 2 pieces of tape. This is one of your antenna wire that comes over here to the right and snaps onto your Wi-Fi card. If you don't want to yank that off, make sure that you undo these pieces of tape before taking your battery out. Now, this is a Samsung brand name battery that you'll have in here stock, 15.4 volt, 54 watt hour, and this is your model here. I will have this information written below in the description so it's easier to see if you're looking for your own replacement. But again, as I mentioned earlier, I will have a battery replacement option below in the description in that link with all the tools, supplies, and replacement parts for this model computer. And I guess the last thing to shout out, if you're here because your computer is not turning on, it is possible that your battery is bad and you need to replace it. But most laptops should still turn on and work with only a charger. So if your computer is not turning on, there may be another reason why it's not working. Up top, also below in the description, I will have a video link. It'll be a video tutorial showing you how to troubleshoot a laptop that's not turning on. This is your solid state drive right here. It's a single M.2 port. The solid state drive is held in by a single screw to the right in the middle right there. Once you take that screw out, you can slide the solid state drive to the right out of this port. Now, most of you will have either a 256 gig or a 512 gig solid state drive stock in your computer. So below in the description, in that link I told you about with all the replacement and upgrade parts for this model computer. I'll include a 500 gigabyte solid state drive stick as well as a terabyte solid state drive stick, depending on what kind of an upgrade you guys are interested in doing. So that's how you access your solid state drive. I guess the last thing I can mention in this kind of repair is unless you're cloning your previous storage device, you will need to install an operating system onto the new SSD after you install it. I'll have two links below in the description. One will be a video tutorial showing you how you can install Windows 10. The other will be a video tutorial showing you how to install Windows 11 onto your laptop. To start with, your Wi-Fi card is here. It's not actually removable. It's integrated into the motherboard. You'll see the black antenna wire come down here and the white antenna wire come down here. Now, these antenna wire, these are just snaps. They're not plugs. They just pull and easily snap up and off of that Wi-Fi card if you're replacing your antenna. If you're looking to get the antenna wire back on, they do need to be at a straight 90-degree angle in order to press that and snap it back on. And it is fragile. You are strong enough to damage that snap on either end. So just make sure it's at a 90-degree angle. It could be a little bit of a pain if you're not used to it, but you will be able to get those to snap back on. As a side point with the Wi-Fi, if you're having Wi-Fi problems, if your computer can't find your Wi-Fi network or any Wi-Fi network, it could be that this is bad, but more than likely it's a driver issue or a software issue. I will have a video link above, also below in the description. It'll show you how to troubleshoot Wi-Fi not working in your computer because, again, most likely it's not that your Wi-Fi card's bad. And unfortunately, if your Wi-Fi card is bad in this model computer, that means your motherboard is bad because, again, it's integrated into the motherboard. So you would have to replace the entire motherboard to replace your Wi-Fi card, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. As far as the RAM in this computer, as you notice, this is a single M.2 solid state drive port, but there's no RAM port here. The RAM is also integrated into the motherboard, and it's actually visible on the other side of this motherboard. You'd have to take the motherboard off in order to access or in order to see your RAM, but it's not easily removable, just like your Wi-Fi card. Again, if you're having RAM problems, if your RAM has gone bad, it means your motherboard has gone bad. You have the speakers here on the left-hand side of my screen and a speaker here on the right side of my screen. They don't connect to each other like in a lot of computers. They both plug into the motherboard separately. So this speaker here on the left, it plugs into the motherboard right here, and you will just take that whole plug right off. You'll just snap that right off of the motherboard. And this speaker plugs into the motherboard right here. And same thing, you'll snap that right off of the motherboard. And the speakers themselves, they don't screw down to the computer. They're just held on these clips here with these rubber washers for sound insulation. So you don't have to unscrew those. You can just wiggle those right off of there. I'll try to have some speaker replacements below in the description in that link I told you about with the replacement parts. And I guess the last thing to shout out about this kind of repair, if you're hearing that really junk sound every time the bass kicks in, then what that most likely is yes, your speakers are blown, they need to be replaced. However, if your speakers are only working sometimes, if the sound is really low sometimes, if you're seeing issues like that, it may not be that your speakers are bad. You may have a software issue, a driver issue. So if you're looking to troubleshoot that kind of problem, before getting in here to replace your speakers, there'll be a video link above, also below in the description, showing you how to make sure all your drivers are up to date first, so you can rule that out before doing an extensive repair like this. This is your fan right here. It's got 3 screws, one here, one here, one here, and it plugs into the motherboard right here. Now, these wires are especially fragile. You definitely don't want to pull on these. This black plug will have a grip on either side. You can use your fingernails or a pry tool to grip that and pull it straight down away from the fan to unplug your fan. After you get your fan out, your heatsink is right here. It runs over your CPU. It's held down by these 3 screws right there. Once you get those 3 screws out, your heatsink will come up. Now keep in mind, if you are removing this heatsink for any reason, you will need to reapply that thermal paste. Once oxygen gets in there, it kind of messes it up, so you have to reapply it. I will have a video link above, also below in the description, showing you how you can properly reapply thermal paste. You want to clean all the old stuff off, and then you don't want to put too much new thermal paste down. So again, that link will be below in the description. Okay, so to get into the motherboard replacement, we're going to want to unhook everything from the motherboard. So this right here is your keyboard ribbon cable that plugs into the motherboard here. And this is your touchpad ribbon cable, plugs into the motherboard here. This ribbon cable comes to this USB board here. Now, all of these types of connectors, these are very fragile. So I'm going to explain how you can operate these. If you notice, there's a white plug and a black clip, and the ribbon cable plugs in underneath the black clip. The way to operate this is you're going to take a small flat, a very, very flat pry tool and gently slide it under this black clip from the bottom. On this one, it would be from the left. And then what you're going to do is gently pop that black clip up. It opens like a book cover. So it'll open from this side on the bottom, the hinges would be on the top, and it'll open like a book cover. That will release your ribbon cable. Now that black clip is very fragile. If you break it, you may not be able to find a replacement, which means that that ribbon cable will never securely fasten it in there again. So very important that you go gentle and you don't break that black clip. And also after removing your ribbon cable, I always like to put the black clip back down just so it doesn't get caught on anything. But so you would undo these three ribbon cables. Your speaker plugs into the motherboard right here. Your LCD cable comes down, plugs in here. There's a little gold bar you'll notice on yours. It comes off of the top part here, the actual LCD cable plug, and it goes around the port here. You're going to pop that bar up, and then you're going to slide this up and out of the port right there. That's how you get your LCD cable out. And then lastly, you have your fan plugged in here. Very fragile wire. Don't pull on that wire. You can grab it by the grips on either side with your fingernail or a pry tool, and you can pry that off. And then you'd have to remove your fan. As you'll see here, your fan screws down there. So unscrew that, unscrew this, unscrew these three, take your fan off. And then your motherboard is kind of released at that point from everything plugging into it. You're going to need to undo this screw in the top left of your motherboard, this screw in the top right, this screw right here, down bottom. And then this metal bracket is going to have to come out. It's got 4 screws, 1 here, 2 here, and 1 here. And once that comes up, you'll be able to take this motherboard up and you'll be able to do a motherboard replacement. So that's the video. I hope it was helpful. Please feel free to subscribe if you enjoy DIY computer content like this, but also if you just want to keep me on hand to answer any of your computer questions. I do try to answer all questions and comments at least a couple times a day. But make sure you do check out the FAQs below in the description. It could save you some time getting an answer to commonly asked questions. Also, feel free to check out the related links section below in the description. I try to add from time to time things in there that I think can help you or make your computer life, your computer world more enjoyable and more productive. So thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you on my next video.